Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland, my weekly show where I take a deep dive into a particular film. And we're moving along here in my Miyazaki series, and we're going to be jumping in to Howl's Moving Castle before we have a few more episodes to go for this series. But I am joined by quite a few of my friends from SiftPop and also the SPDM crew, which this is a Venn diagram, there's overlap here. But we'll go around the horn. Adam, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me once again.
Mike
Hello, how's it going?
and Alice.
G'day, g'day. Good to see you all.
We have 50% coming from the United States, 50% coming from Australia. So there you
Yeah,
go.
nice,
Got
nice
some balance
split.
here.
Hmm.
Some of us are nice and early, some of us are in the evening, but we're making this work.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
we're here to talk about a wonderful fantasy film. Before we get to that, this show has three segments, so we do have coming attractions. It's August already with this episode releasing, which makes me sad as somebody that works at a college, and that summertime is precious and it's just going by. And we'll be talking about the releases for that week, and then we'll get to Howl's Moving Castle and then leave you all with some other recommendations. So, coming attractions for this weekend, we do have The Bad Guys 2 coming out. I know I really like the first one, and my one nephew is a humongous fan of The Bad Guys. So, I know my brother's going to be taking the boys out to go see that for sure. And by the time this episode releases, I will have seen it because early screening, I'm excited about it. And we do have a variety of other smaller films coming out, but we had some consensus here for this episode. All four of us are pretty darn excited about The Naked Gun. And I'm also jealous of some of my friends that I know from North Jersey who definitely saw a screening of this in New York and, got to already have some fun. But we'll go around. So, Adam, why are you excited about The Naked Gun?
Mainly as you all would all probably know, I'm not a trailer watcher, but I've been to the cinema a little bit this year, and there was trailers, two separate trailers, and the first one I was like, yeah, I'm in, absolutely down. Then the second one launched, and I'm like, it was very funny, a lot of laughs. I'm like, I'm definitely in, but I hope these just aren't the best jokes they're putting in the trailer. Lucky for me, I
Mm.
don't have a great memory, so I'm going to forget them anyway by the time I get to see it. So, yeah, very excited.
How about you, Mike?
I love the original trilogy, even the second one that isn't as strong as the other two, but I still enjoy it nonetheless. And I think just the not just Liam Neeson, but just the crew behind it. I trust them, and I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to seeing what spin they bring to the series.
Alice?
I am a little different. So I did watch, I think the first two, or maybe I did watch the original trilogy as a kid, but I definitely watched it at the wrong time where it was like, I wasn't necessarily too young in terms of appropriateness. I think I was just too young in terms of like, I didn't find it funny because I didn't get most of the jokes. I just thought they were stupid. And
Which they
so
are.
They
They
are.
are,
yeah,
It's
but
yeah.
I
all
think
good.
that now I think now I'd watch it and laugh. And I think when I was like, 8, 9, 10, I was like, this is boring. Like, and I just haven't gone back and seen it since. But I too have seen, I think the first trailer at the cinemas, and it looks very funny. And more importantly, I because it's being directed by Akiva Schaffer and it feels like it's a Lonely Island-esque film almost.
Hmm.
Um, I'm very much hoping it's got like Lonely Island-esque humor behind it, which means it'll just be right up my alley. Plus, I feel like whenever Liam Neeson does comedy, it's one of those things where it's like he's actually so good at comedy, he just very rarely does it. So
Yep.
Hmm.
and then on top of that, I'm very intrigued to see Pamela Anderson since, coming back with Showgirl, now coming back into this like it in kind of a very interesting choice of role, given that she's trying to move away from the like blonde bombshell that she was for so long and kind of be a bit more serious. So I'm wondering what it was about this film that convinced her to do it. So yes, I am cautiously optimistic.
I want to be taken seriously and I want to be a
Yeah.
serious actor. Signs up for the silliest movie possible.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so
Exactly.
um, I'm a huge fan of the original The Naked Gun. It's so dumb, but so funny. And I love Leslie Nielsen. And just the meta aspect of the fact that they cast Liam Neeson to be Leslie Nielsen's son, and who
Hmm.
both have the like obviously Liam Neeson was a much more successful dramatic actor than Leslie Nielsen, who,
Yeah.
for you Forbidden Planet fans out there, you know that Leslie Nielsen was a dramatic actor. Um,
Mhm.
and but they have that like dry sense of like I'm taking this way too seriously, but then it's just absolutely hilarious. So he's perfect ever since Ted 2, where he did that Lucky
Mm.
Charms. Was it a tricks? Well, whatever breakfast cereal gag that he did in Ted 2 was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I love the fact that this is the Lonely Island crew because like that Chippendales movie had
It
Yeah.
Chippendale
was
had
funny. I
no
liked
Mm.
it.
business
Mhm.
being
Very good.
that funny.
Yes.
The way they
Yeah.
were approaching that. And I remember when this first trailer came out, it's like, what do you want, little girl? Like, your ass. And taking the mask off and just being a little girl outfit. I'm like, oh my God. And that OJ joke.
That OJ joke just hit
Yeah.
at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
even
just
like the
also feel like there's been such an expansion of the spy film genre since the Naked Gun,
Mhm.
trilogy kind of came out that like, yeah, like you do have all the Mission Impossibles to just completely rip off and like
Hmm.
the James Bonds, how they've elevated, not to mention if they incorporate some like John Wick type element or
We're
um
born.
you
Born.
yeah,
Yeah.
like there's so many modern ways to do it. So I look, I'm not the biggest fan of toilet humor. So unless it's done, if it's intelligent or like, and obviously every now and again, yeah, a burp or a fart is hilarious. But like, I'm not a fan when that's like the main kind of humor. So I'm hoping that they're a little bit. I'm not a fan of that, and I'm not a fan when it's like, oh look, they're swearing, so it's funny.
Mm.
So I swear as much as the next guy, but like
Mm.
as a joke, that's a pretty like, be more intelligent. So that's what I'm
Right.
hoping for.
Well,
Yeah.
the second that he's like, take a seat, and she grabs a chair and just walks out of the room,
Hmm.
just like, well, there it is. We got the Naked Gun humor
Yeah.
here. I'm just
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
so we're all on board for this and we're all very excited. So hopefully it hits. And honestly, if it does, hopefully this does really well in the early throes of August when this August is actually very interesting with what they're throwing out
Yeah.
there. Um there's a Coen brother movie coming out.
I
Nobody's
know. I
Mm.
feel
coming out.
like I feel like it's weird because I can see the Coen Brothers movie just being so confused with the last one that came out because that Margaret Qualley was also in. Just
Mm.
Mm.
it's the
Yeah.
same film, but it's not. It's just instead of Matt Damon, it's Chris Evans.
Mhm.
Chris Evans. So, and from what I understand, I think this is also under 90 minutes. I'm like, you go, Ethan Cohen. Keep making those
Nice.
movies that are nice and lean.
Mm.
Um, we'll have to see how some of these movies do in the shadow of, Fantastic Four coming into its second
Mm.
weekend and stuff
Mm.
like that. Those are coming attractions, one specific one. But let's get into Howl's Moving Castle. So I do have some background that I want to go through here. So this was released in 2004, obviously directed by Hayao Miyazaki. That's what we're doing here. This is based on Diana Wynne Jones's book. It had a budget of $24 million, which, if I'm not mistaken, was the highest budgeted film that Miyazaki had done up to this point, and made $236 million worldwide. Not quite
Mm-hmm.
the Spirited Away $400 million, but still a lot of money. So this was that sweet spot where Miyazaki films were just printing money at the worldwide box office. Um, this was made in opposition to the invasion of Iraq. So this is a very interesting like time capsule of like Miyazaki was really pissed off about America's decision to invade Iraq at the time, and you could definitely have see all of those anti-war elements to this film. Explores old age and explores age positivity in some interesting
Mhm.
ways. Focus on compassion and feminism were some of the things that Miyazaki wanted to get across here. This was indeed nominated for the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, but lost to Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Um,
That's a good
so
one to lose to. It's all good.
it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
because
wasn't
the
quite
Werewolf is pretty
the
special.
it wasn't quite the Pixar dynasty at that point
Mm.
when they just
No.
started running away with this award every single year. This won the Tokyo Anime Award and Nebula Award for Best Script. Miyazaki was inspired to make the film by the idea of discovering how the castle moves, because he's like saw the book and stuff like that. And he's like, I want to experiment with how this castle's gonna move. And then she's like,
Mm.
little
Yeah.
chicken legs. Um, Mamoru Hosoda was the original director who quit over creative disagreements with the studio. They
Hmm.
kept pushing back on his ideas, and then Miyazaki's like, swoop on in there.
Hmm.
There was a delay actually because they were having a lot of problems, and then they specifically wanted to wait until Miyazaki was available. So then he did take over in 2003 with the film. Miyazaki did research in Colmar and Wequemere, France. I got those right. So France was definitely a big influence on the style of the film. Albert Robita's futuristic work was also an inspiration for the castle itself. The film was produced digitally with backgrounds being drawn first. So this by far was the film that he did most of his work with digital animation up to this point. First starting with Princess Mononoke and slowly expanding upon those elements. But that's all the background that I'm going to give you all right now. But our synopsis here is when an unconfident young woman is cursed with an old body by a spiteful witch, her only chance of breaking the spell lies with the self indulgent yet insecure young wizard and his companions in his legged walking castle. So that is indeed Howl's Moving Castle. So we'll go around. What were your experience? So what's your experience with the film? Was this your first time watch? Did you dub or sub? And then general thoughts. So Adam, you can go first.
I think this was my fourth watch. I watched it today. I was debating whether to watch it again, but I'm glad I did because this is a 5-star film for me. Today I did watch the Japanese version. I think I've seen the Japanese version twice and the English version twice, and you do get two different movies doing that. But yeah, sorry. So general thoughts today. Yeah, this movie's still spectacular. Like it's just a phenomenal um, visual and oral spectacular, I think. It's just lots going on. It's deeper than you probably see. It's on rewatches, it's very deep. I have written something down and I probably should be referring to. Yeah, I just wrote in my review today that it's at its deepest, it speaks poetically of the key to human psychological needs, which is love and survival, and finding connection through adversity and diversity. Because it is a very diverse group of characters in here, almost like a found family type of film as well. But at its shallowest, it is an incredibly well produced piece of visual and oral art, is my general thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Mike.
Uh, think I had seen this a long time ago, but it had been a while, so I'm going to consider this pretty much first time watch. Watch the dubbed version. I'm going to go back and watch the sub version. It's interesting going back to this because when I first watched this, the US was still very much involved in the Iraq War. So I had read that Miyazaki's goal was to watch something or to create something that Americans would not like because he was vehemently protesting the invasion in Iraq, and I would say that he failed in that because I adore this movie. It's really good. The animation's great. That castle looks spectacular, and just thematically, um, just so much going on. Uh, can't help but love what he's putting on the screen.
Thank you, Mike. Alice.
Oh, I don't even know how many times I've seen this film. I've watched it a lot. Like I'd say, well, this and Spirited Away are like the two, you know. Spirited Away has always been particularly special to me, but this one, I think it's like Spirited Away's for like the younger me, and Howl's is like the older I get, the more I appreciate it. And it's been dubbed every time because I just it's Christian Bale. Like there is no way I can look past Christian Bale's voice acting in this because it is literally perfect. And I mean, like Billy Crystal and like Emily Mortimer and that are also really, really good. But and also Josh Hutcherson, which I always forget he's in this film, but as a child. But I just like Christian Bale. The casting is crazy because he's just so perfect as Hal. And as you know, in recent kind of years or whatever, the romanticy genre in books is just, and also TV and movies and stuff, has really kind of taken off, particularly in literature. And it always comes back to like Hal's one of the original kind of like romantic heroes that a lot of women from my generation were just like, oh, like when he does the whole I've been looking for you. You're just like, I think I went back and I watched that like 4 times. I was like, it's so good. So yeah, no, I mean, I love this. It's amazing. I love this film.
I think this is my either my second or third time watching
Mm.
this film. I gonna sound like a broken record at this point, but I never really saw any Miyazaki films until I was an adult. So I never watched any of these as a kid. And
Same.
this one isn't one of the ones that I consistently go back to. I'm a huge fan of Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away, and I really love Totoro and Ponyo. Actually, I've
Mm.
seen Ponyo like 4 times at this point, and will again for the next episode of the show. But this one, I think on this rewatch, I think I really started to appreciate everything that this film's trying to do
Mm.
because it is trying to balance quite a few themes. And I do want to say the real MVP is Turnip Head because, he is the real MVP at Scarecrow, who does have a
Mm-hmm.
nice revelation for that character towards the end. I'm like,
Hmm.
we all need a turnip head in our life because, like, we need something. Turnip Head delivers.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest takeaway for me. Which, if you couldn't tell, out of all these characters, for some reason, that was my favorite character in this movie. But there are a lot of very interesting and different types of characters in this film, and I think that's one of the fun things about it, because obviously you have this journey of this young woman who's forced to look like an old lady, feel like an old lady, try
Mm-hmm.
to walk up a mountain like an
Ew.
old lady.
Ew.
Um, she's like, everything creaks now. I'm like, every time I get out of my recliner and hear my knees creak now, I'm like, well, getting
Yep.
into my 30s now. But
Huh.
those are like little things. Like obviously we're not 80 years old here, but like those are little moments where it's
Oh,
just like
I'm definitely feeling it. I know.
Mm.
where you start realizing it's like things are different now.
Yeah.
I as my body is rejecting me because I had more than 2 slices of pizza last night. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like I used to down a whole pie and be able to run 45 minutes the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not my life anymore. So
Mhm.
like those kinds of things hit a little bit differently. And I think as you get older with this film, and I think that's one of the wonderful things about this film in particular is that there's so many layers to this that children will enjoy because this is a wonderful fantasy world that's created with all these interesting different characters, but you're going to age into a lot of these themes and have a different perspective on them. And I think it's just going to enrich in the experience with this film. Not to
Mm-hmm.
say that other Miyazaki films don't have elements of that, but I feel like this film in particular, because of the themes that it decides to tackle, you will age into some of them, specifically the whole age one. But
Mhm.
let's go around. What are some of the things that really stick out to all of you about the film that it seems like pretty consistently everybody has some really high perception of the film? What are some of the things that really makes this that special film for all of you?
For the English dub, Alice was mentioning all the characters, but I actually really love Billy Crystal as Calcifer
Yeah.
in the English dub. Calcifer is my MVP for this movie. I think he's great, and I think deliberately so because he is technically, I guess, the heart of this
Mhm.
movie, and
Mm.
it is I can't think of the word right now, but it's presented as that as well as it moves along. That line that you're talking about, turnip head, I kind of thought of a funny line that this would be the line that my parents said to me as I left home for the first time to live away. It says, "You may be a turnip, but may you find happiness." I thought that was really great. There's just so much. Like I think someone mentioned before about the design of the castle itself, the flying castle. I
Mm.
mean, it's phenomenal. Just the magic behind turning the color on the door to open up in a new location. I mean, as an adult, that's just cool as hell.
Yeah.
But as a kid watching that, because unlike you, Shane, I hadn't seen this. I've not seen any Ghibli as a child. I was an adult, I think, before they even started coming out, to be honest. Or into the Western world. Yeah, there's but as a kid, yeah, that door turning and the little magic and all that just would have rocked my socks, I reckon, as a kid. Would have been an all-time favorite.
Mm.
I
And I
count.
don't think we can also ignore the fact that there are two, like, yeah, a lot of them, yes, very famous and legends in their own right, but like Lauren Bacall and Gene Simmons as like voice actors is crazy in a
Yeah.
Japanese dub of an animated film.
Mhm.
And they do so well. Like I think the thing with any Miyazaki film is that you can't really just expect you can't expect things because you have kind of like the Witch of the Waste who shows up and you're like, okay, she's the big bad, she's an asshole, she's gonna be the one who like they have to defeat in the end, and then it's
Mm.
she becomes like this doddery old woman that they have to just
The
begrudgingly
comic
take
relief.
care of. Yeah, who's like the comic relief. And it's, her villainy comes from kind of like it's good. It's funny because he's so good at giving characters like some sympathy or empathy without excusing their actions and making like 180ing their character. Like she becomes a daughter, she loses her magic, she becomes like a blob of a human being, but she's still like she's in love with Hal inexplicably. And well, not inexplicably. I can see why she's in love with Hal, but in terms of the
I was
depth
about to
and
say,
the
how
obsession,
can you not be? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
How
In
can
terms
you
of the
not be?
obsession and the fact that she like curses Sophie and all that sort of stuff. Um, but she's it also is like that doesn't mean she deserves to die, and that doesn't mean that she
Mm.
doesn't deserve to have some family or some love and that sort of thing. And so he just constantly like it's funny that you say, this was kind of created against Americans, especially because of the Iraqi war and stuff, because I feel like the whole film is like, we can just be nice. Let's just be nice to each. Sometimes being kind to other people is okay. Like can we just do that?
Mm.
And then things might turn
Mm.
out okay. How about that?
How
I think that's
about
one.
that?
Mm.
I think that's one of the things, Alice, that I
Mm,
adore about this movie is that this
mm,
idea that compassion can take you such a long way,
hmm
and how I I feel like it was trying to say that like compassion is something that you kind of learn with age. And
mm,
obviously, for someone like Sophie, who she is made to appear like she looks like an old lady, but
mm,
the fact that she can learn to be compassionate through all of her different experiences, just learn what that means and what that can do to not only her but the castle, but the towns as well. That is something that I greatly appreciate this from a theme standpoint, and I do want to shout out that just Howl as a character kind of just presents so many different layers and so many
mm,
different facets, especially once you kind of find out some of the things that he's actually like doing. Apparently, from the book, he's different, and there are a lot of
mm,
not like a ton of changes, but there were some noticeable changes from the book. Um,
He's
which
apparently a lot more I don't know if mature is the word, but it's like
I think that's a good way to put it
yeah,
because
yeah.
one would say like on like a more
He still
derivative level,
freaks
it's
out because he dyes his hair orange. Like he still
yeah,
has
that
moments.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to see that a character like this could easily have been somebody that just feels
Mm,
unsympathetic and just someone that you think is just gonna turn on everyone in
mm-hmm.
like given also the gravity and responsibility that he does have in this like especially in this war. But I don't know, I really like Howl as a character and just everything that he's doing. It's a lot more interesting and nuanced than I originally remember it to be.
Well, I know from like the very beginning because this is such a weird comparison, but like I'm sitting here watching this, um, rewatching this for this episode, and that opening sequence, I'm like, this is like very
Mm,
like V for Vendetta vibe of like
mm,
him just rolling up in that like flaunting kind of way and like chasing off some guys and then, being very charming and stuff like that. And you get that Howl, and then you have, Big Birdman Howl, which like the creature design and stuff like that's really cool. And then you got Sad Goopy Boy Howl, which
mm, mm.
that was a whole entire thing.
But
Because
like,
like
I get it. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to live anymore. I'm
Yeah.
disgusting.
we all
What's
have
the
our
point of living if you're not beautiful? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, exactly.
it's a
we
key
all have
line.
we all have our sad goopy boy moments. We're all just like gooping it out all over the place. And like those are the things that like there's a lot of dimensions
Mm-hmm.
to Hal as a character, and we see Hal acting in all these different kinds of ways. And yes, why live if I'm not beautiful is quite the vibe. Quite the
Yeah.
vibe for sure. And you know, you get to see like there's a lot of really creative action and thrills
Mm,
throughout this film as well, especially because like you see how in like this big bird form and doing these kinds of things, and especially towards like the bombing of that city towards the end and them desperately trying to like get in the doors and get the hell out of here. And the castle is crumbling and all these things are happening, and
mm.
this really has a thrilling and very manic kind of climax to it. And you I love just seeing like the form of this castle as it's struggling to even just hold itself together. And like by the end, it's just like a floor
I
and
know.
chicken
Hmm.
legs. And
Hmm.
just like this whole entire construction of what's going on is falling apart around us. At the end of the day, they still have their little family though. And
Hmm.
at the end of the day, Turnip Head saves the day. So, real MVP. Going back, circling back around to that. But
Also, once again, another movie by Miyazaki where the food just looks
Oh,
oh those
yeah.
the how do they
Ghibli do
make
food
bake
so well.
yeah yep how do they make food like I mean it's
The,
basically bacon, eggs, and bread, and I'm just
mm,
like that is the greatest food
yeah.
I've ever seen in
Yep.
my entire life. And like I feel
Mm.
like the bacon's like probably some kind of Japanesey like thicker cut sort of situation, but oh man, even the way she slices the bread and like the cheese, I'm just like, I just want to
Mm.
eat it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
just like I did not expect food porn from my animated Miyazaki movie
Oh,
right
every
here.
single one. It's like
Ponyo's got
even,
good ones.
yeah, Ponyo with the ramen. And it's like it's just
Mm.
like it's just 2 minute ramen with a bunch of stuff on top. And it looks like the greatest food I've ever seen in my entire
Yeah.
life.
And well, I feel like that's getting down to the nitty-gritty of the details of
Hmm.
Miyazaki
Yeah.
films that are so impressive. That's
Yeah.
like he takes the time to make every detail, every scene, every shot feel meaningful.
One of
And
one
Hmm.
of his key mottos was his animating mottos is if you animate the ordinary, it makes everything else extraordinary. So you even see that in the
Hmm.
movement of the characters is very realistic. Like this, the fact that you'll watch this and think this and see that this is hand-drawn animation. I mean,
Hmm.
it's insane. It's just insanely brilliant. But yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why you have such a that's why you can melt into Ghibli, pretty much any Ghibli film, especially the Hayao ones, is that, yeah, because he does animate those ordinary things. Like you'll see someone's
Mm-hmm.
running but their legs move like a person's legs move. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's a scene in, I can't remember which film it is, but it actually took them like 3 months to animate like a 1 second clip of this crowd bustling scene in one of their
Oh,
movies.
yep. Yeah, I know what one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I might be exaggerating the 3 months, but it was a really long time for a one
Mm-hmm.
second clip. Yeah.
And because
Um,
he wanted
but
every single character to be doing something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
It was
painstaking. You see the effort that's gone into it.
it's probably a lot shorter than that, but not the amount of hours that they put in.
Hmm.
Because that's
Mm,
Mm.
that's the vibe I
yeah.
get from because like one of his films he did in like 7 months. I'm like, how the hell did you and your team make this movie in 7 months? A lot of
Mm,
hours, that's how.
Yeah.
Um, but I just this film is such an interesting melding of you have a lot of this very realistic looking European influenced settings. You have these very fantastical characters and elements that you're throwing in. You have these very uncomfortable and very raw kind of scenes where you see attacks happening, and obviously that's where he's getting at. Like he wants to see, he's like, this is, if you invade somewhere and you're attacking somewhere, innocent people are being hurt, cities are being
mm,
destroyed, and that climax really is impactful in terms of
Mm-hmm.
what it's showing of just the desolation that war can have. And
mm,
this film really
Mm-hmm.
captures that like scale of war and the attacks, and also like some of that like pettiness in terms of
Mm.
like the conflict and stuff like that. And you know, I appreciate how this all comes together in such a wonderful way. And you know, it's such an interesting group of characters, but they all have their flaws, they all have their little conflicts with each other. Because like it's not like all of the, like this found family get along all the time.
Hmm.
No.
There's bickering, there's conflict, um, there's blackmail, there's negotiating, there's all these kinds of things going on between these characters. And how it all how it all comes together is one of this or get that across, how this is all coming together is such like ending of this movie just feels like it has so many nice feelings
Hmm.
Mm.
that it
mm.
just drenches over you, because it's like we've
It's a
all
warm
been through a
hug.
lot here together over the
Yeah.
course of this 2 hour movie,
Mm,
and everybody kind of finds what they need in the end, and I think that's something special. And I think everybody has a better understanding, because like there's some like toxic connection here, just like our little fire guy who's the heart of the film, both literally and metaphorically.
mm,
um
mm.
like, is that a fair kind of situation to have to put this character
Yeah.
through? And it's like the film negotiates that and navigates those kinds of things in some interesting ways. And I think that's one of the things that I appreciate is like how this how this film is very particular about how it see
You're
now I
stuck.
can't unsay it. um the way that this film navigates relationships in a really
Mm.
Yeah,
interesting way,
yeah.
whether those toxic elements or
Mm.
like
Yeah.
mutually beneficial relationships that we have. So,
But that's where
Yeah.
Alice's point that this makes this film so rewatchable, and
mm,
to realize how Howl's moving castle
Mm.
just navigates all these themes
Mm.
expertly, and how Howl manages to just kind of touch on all these different things that
Mm-hmm.
is accessible to both children and adults.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't get that as often
Yeah.
anymore. And you know, like as a parent here, just watching some of the animated stuff that comes out today, I really wish that I
Yeah.
could take my kids to go see this in theaters, because
But
they would
Because you
appreciate
can
this.
for Ghibli Fest.
Good, yeah, that's very true. But this is something where it's something for both kids and adults, and
Mm.
like I like that Alice compared this to something that you could watch as a kid, find something to latch
Mm.
onto, and then you go back and rewatch it as an adult, and you're like, oh,
find all
You
new
okay.
get
things.
you get all the
I get
you
some
get
of
all
the
the
other things that
subtext.
this is saying, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it so
But
awesome.
it's very
Yeah.
much a fairy tale, and that's what, like, just going what you were talking about, Mark. They don't Mark. What the hell, Mike? I don't even know. Sorry.
Just pretend it's our accent. Pretend it's our accent.
Yeah. Good cover. They don't make fairy tales anymore. Like, you see, modern animation isn't. They're not fairy tales. Howl's Moving Castle it actually quite reminds me a lot of Disney type of films where you have what's her name? The Witch of the Waste. She's very much
Witch
like
of the
a
Waste.
Maleficent, Snow White,
Yeah.
Wicked Witch type of character. You have you have great characters, amazing world building, amazing visuals. Japanese John Williams, Joe Hisashi just ripping out another impeccable score.
Oh my
It's very
God.
much,
Yeah.
The score
The
it's
is
just
score.
so
great.
much it's just so much fairy tale aspects built
Mm-hmm.
into this. And that's why I think people of our age, or maybe, who grew up with Disney, just vibe with this so hard, because it is
Yep.
very reminiscent of that. But in a more modern way, there's no,
Yeah.
the princess and the prince aren't, it's not that traditional princess and prince. It's very modernized in a very intelligent way.
And the transformative kiss isn't even between them. It's between her and a side character.
Mhm.
That's not
Yeah,
romantic
yeah,
at all. It's just like a
yeah.
sweet moment. But also really quick, just to go on a quick tangent. So that scene you were talking about that took ages to animate is from The Wind Rises. And you're right, it didn't take 3 months. It took a year and 3 months for 4 seconds of animation.
4 seconds. There you
Because
go.
it's the
Yeah.
bit right before the giant earthquake, which killed a lot of people and created a lot of devastation. So, because I remember reading about it, and I found the article again, Miyazaki basically wanted to show how each individual person had their own lives and individuality, so that when this destruction happens, it hits harder. And because it's like these are all individuals, they're not just like copy paste. It's like they all, one of them was going to work, the other one was going to groceries, there's like a family, and and so that's why. And I think, to bring it back to the point of today's movie, it's like there is so much of that detail in everything. And I think, again, I absolutely agree with it being a fairy tale. And I think a lot of the kind of, Studio Ghibli films are very fairy tale-esque, in that they have like that moral story, but in a way that's not like you're a bad person if you don't do X, Y, and Z necessarily. It's just more like, let's look at how, like, I think they always come back to like the kindness of the characters and the compassion and how they survive like brutality in some way, shape, or form together. And this one in particular, because you have the found family, but you also have that war aspect, and it's never fully defined. It's just like there's this giant war going on that's just killing a lot of people, and Howl is like going in and having to fight it, and it all kind of like comes together. And obviously the big climax is the castle literally falling apart. And I just, no, I sorry, Adam's just said it is Ghibli. I've grown up saying Ghibli, and I can't not.
No, it's fine. The reason you say Ghibli is because you're Italian, and it says it's the original Italian. Yeah,
that is 1,000%. No. But you're absolutely right. I absolutely want to affirm. I know it's Ghibli. It's like how it took me so long to say manga instead of manga, because I was just like, but I've grown up this long saying, and so it's like I fully yes, for everyone out there, I'm misinforming. I'm saying it wrong. It's Ghibli, just like it's Ghibli. Like it's GIF, if you get what I mean, where it's like some people say the opposite, but it's the opposite.
That's actually a very big point of contention in the United States, and people argue about this all the time, and everybody's right.
Yeah, like, is a hot dog a sandwich? Pointless argument.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter.
But, exactly. But And so I think that that's the thing. And a lot of his films have this like really intense like conflict that happened to be quite a lot bigger than what the actual story of the film is. But then he kind of like zeroes in on a couple of characters, but he never forgets to show that there are these wider contexts going on. And I think that's good because it mimics real life in a way where it's like you're just going to be living your life and there's going to be this insane level of destruction and awfulness and, potential violence that's going on in the world, and you can't ignore that, but you also have to still do what you can in the small life that you're living. And so I think that this one does that really well because there is all this like insane war and fighting, but then at the end it's just like them in a field with their moving castle, and it's very sweet.
Absolutely. Anybody have any other thoughts to throw out there before we wrap up our conversation about Howl's Moving Castle?
So good. Everyone should watch it.
Yeah.
It should like
Yeah.
it's
Watch it multiple
definitely
times.
I don't know. I am reticent to say that it is my second favorite behind Spirited Away. Like Spirited Away is just something just super special to me because of when I watched it, but they're both
Can I ask you a
very
question?
good.
What was your first Ghibli movie that you saw?
It was Spirited Away. It was Spirited Away.
Do you know what we've found throughout this, Shane, is that everyone's favorite Ghibli movie is always the first one they saw. How's was my first Ghibli. I mean, that's kind of says a lot about the power of this studio, right? Where
I guess technically mine is
Mononoke, right? Yeah.
Should I tell this story for the third straight episode?
Do it.
Because like I went over my neighbor's house and my neighbor was watching this movie, and this giant infected boar thing scared the living crap out of me as a small child. And then years later, I went back and watched Princess Mononoke for the first time and realized, oh my God, it's that movie.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what it was. So like chasing that experience my whole entire life. So technically that was actually the first Studio Ghibli film that I actually saw anything from. And yes, Princess Mononoke through this rewatch is still my number one. Howl's Moving Castle, honestly, out of all of these that I've rewatched so far, was the one. This and Porco Rosso were the ones that really resonated with me more this time around. I appreciated both of them a lot more than I did in my memory of seeing them. And honestly, like, I don't think rewatching Kiki or Totoro or Spirited Away or Mononoke really added much to my experience because, like, I already had these wonderful memories and experiences of them. But I did appreciate rewatching like Nausicaa and Castle in the Sky, and especially this one. How, as of right now, Howl is my number 4, behind Totoro, Spirited Away, and Princess Mononoke. I'll be interested because like I'm a huge Ponyo fan too, so I'll be interested to see. And this will be my second time watching The Wind Rises and Boy and the Heron, so it'll be interesting to see both of those.
Boy and the Heron's great.
I mean,
also it's Ponyo. Speaking of Liam Neeson,
I mean,
depending on which one you watch. I always watch the dubs because I'm sorry. All the Ghibli dubs are they're perfect. Like they're just perfect voice acting. And I personally have a rule where if it's animated, I'm allowed to watch the dub and nobody's allowed to be annoyed with me because it's literally animated. If it's live action, watch it in the exactly. If it's live action, you have to watch it in the original with subs if you can't understand the language. That's my rule.
Dub is weird. But Mike, you want to say something?
No, I was just gonna say you're just listing off all of these, Miyazaki films, and just shows the diversity in all the different types of movies that he's putting out, and Studio Ghibli. Just not very many studios can pull off what they have. So it's just nice just to see a studio that's trying to branch out and trying to do a lot of different things. Like, yeah, thematically, and I guess in some cases structurally, they're all, they've all got something that ties them together, but
Hmm.
they're all unique. And I think that is probably the greatest compliment that you could give a studio, is that all
Hmm.
of their movies are unique and they're all special.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's something for literally any mood you're in. Even if you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm over the design style. I want something new. Go watch Princess Kaguya. Like there's literally
But
like
we don't
something.
talk about Earwig.
Oh
No.
my
We
God.
don't talk
That
about
is a
Earwig.
terrible film.
Yeah, well, again, they have that one. It would be weird if they didn't have that one, like, but
Yeah.
there
Thanks,
literally is
Goro.
everything. Like, do
Even
you want a
Pixar
Little
has Cars
Mermaid
3.
retelling? Yeah. Do you want more historical fiction? Do you want something
Mhm.
basically a exploration of grief through carnivorous birds? Like, it's any age you want, any kind of serious. Do you want to absolutely destroy your inner self and like never quite recover? That's what the Grave of the Fireflies is for. Like,
Yep.
so in terms of like
Mhm.
seriousness, in terms of like even fantastical nature, um, there will be something, which is, yeah, and they all have the consistent just beauty behind the animation where it's just like, oh, I'm just, because like you were saying before, where it's like animating the ordinary to look extraordinary. Like I always think when you said that, I don't know why, but what popped into my head was when Sophie feeds Calcifer like the bacon and stuff, and it's such a
Yes.
smooth
Yeah.
movement that I don't know what it scratches something in my brain where I'm like, oh, that's so nice to just
Yeah.
witness.
I liked actually when he was throwing the eggshells, when eggshells in
Ugh.
Calcifer's mouth. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, that I was watching that and going, it's just, I don't know, it's just so cool. Like,
Nom,
and
nom,
Yeah.
for
nom,
no
nom, nom,
reason,
nom,
it's
nom.
just good to watch.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, this is such a wonderful film, and this was a great discussion. And I do want to just throw this out as I was struggling with Howl in this discussion. Michael will appreciate this because I'm like, we could have really messed with the audience and done something that Mike and I did on our Wasteland retrospective episode, where we replaced everything that sounded and rhymed with meow as a subliminal way of
Super
advertising that we're going
Troopers.
to do Super Troopers. So, because we did have a whole episode about the conversation Apocalypse Meow. This could be Meow's moving castle.
Mhm.
And yeah, so the
Mhm.
audience, you missed out.
Yes.
That's
Because I
amazing.
didn't think about that
What a
until
shame.
mid, struggling with Howl, and I don't know if it's my South Jersey accent or not, but I'm just like, I have to really enunciate this. Sure that
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't sound like the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but that is Howl's Moving Castle. And next week I will be jumping into Ponyo, which is a wonderful little film, which it's such a gorgeous film. I
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
actually I did see that one in theaters for the first time. The first time I ever watched it was in
Oh.
theaters. So because Ghibli Fest is awesome and they do it every year, and people should go into
Mm-hmm.
the theater and check out these films. But
Mm-hmm.
we want to leave all of you with some other recommendations besides Howl's Moving Castle. So let's go around the horn and Adam. So change things up. What dark, demented movie do you want to recommend to people?
Yeah, well, after one of our other friends recommended a movie called The Ugly Stepsister, I went and checked this out. So this is a Norwegian slash Danish dark take on Cinderella, and it is a body horror comedy, which is kind of unlike anything I've seen. I was incredibly grossed out, but incredibly impressed. I had a lot of laughs. It's really great because I'm getting into these type of gruesome horror films because I'm actually doing another horror podcast at the moment and just watching some of this stuff. And I'm kind of disappointed to say how much I'm vibing with these type of gross films because I'm really enjoying them, and it's for no
Like, what am
reason.
I
But
becoming?
yeah, but Ugly Stepsister, yeah, it's fantastic. You'll laugh, you'll wince, you'll look through your fingers, and you'll just be kind of grilled to the screen. It's a really impressive watch. One of those 2025 films that I think it's going to be very underseen by most of the film loving community.
I would like to point out one thing. So somebody commented on my review of this on YouTube, calling me out for bringing. Why did I bring up what the stepsister did in terms of the slipper? Because when did she like when was that a thing in the movie? And I'm like,
The original Grimm's fairy tale. And also it's
there's
in
a
the
very
trailer.
there's a very specific scene in this movie about this
Yeah.
this young woman
Mm.
trying to fit into this slipper, and I don't
Yeah.
want to say how that happens
No,
because it is
no.
absolutely disgusting and you should watch the
Yeah,
movie. Uh,
absolutely.
But it is also literally in the original Grimm fairy tale. So like
Mm.
it's hundreds of years old.
I decided
Yeah.
not to reply to the comment because I was very
Yeah.
confused by their
Yeah.
confusion, but whatever.
Fair.
Mike, what would you like to recommend?
We are in a golden age of video game adaptations
Mm,
and finding their proper medium on television rather
Mm.
than movies.
Mm.
And by the time this comes out, season 2 of Twisted Metal will come out. So I'm recommending season 1 to check out. It was one of those pleasant surprises that upon watching this, or upon watching season 1, I was like, oh, that was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And we were talking beforehand about how Alice thought that that felt like
hmm
a TV show that was going to be a one and done. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad that it's gotten a season 2. And when I watched the trailer, it's like, this looks like it's going to be a blast. But
hmm
season 1 has a lot of great action, a lot of fun performances, and also a surprising amount of heart. Like
Mhm.
I didn't think that I would get choked up seeing someone react to what happens to a car, but here we are, and it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
Twisted Metal season 1. Go ahead and check it
And I
out.
mean, look, I mean, it's not that much of a stretch, but yeah, it's like I'd say the same way Fallout was like, oh, damn, that was good, and
Mhm.
actually,
Mm.
like, it had character development and didn't,
Mm.
blow its load on like the obvious stuff as it comes to the game in season one. It took the time to actually build up
Establish
the
the
world and the
world. Yeah.
characters. Twisted Metal's the same, where it's like, yeah, you expect it's like a car racing game. So you're like, it's going to be like a car racing like thing. But no, it's like we're going to establish the world and we're going to introduce a couple of characters you recognize, but we're also going to build those characters so that they're weirdly kind of like ones you love, even though they're extremely violent and off-putting. And you just like gonna create, and that's why it was such a fun, quirky little show. And I was just like, this is never gonna get a season 2. I just know I'm gonna be that one person that watches it and then I'll never get to know what happens and it'll end on a cliffhanger and I'll get all annoyed and now I'm not. So I take it back.
Mhm.
I third that emotion
Mhm.
because I really enjoyed the show a lot, and shout out to Samoa Joe and Will Arnett for bringing like the most iconic character of Twisted Metal to
Yep.
life. So
Yeah.
we
And
were ready
not
for it.
making him just be like the worst. Like, yeah.
But the August, like end of July into August, seems to be a building up period for television again. There's a lot of things that are going to be
Mm.
coming out, and I'm definitely excited for Twisted Metal season 2. Alice, what would you like to recommend?
I'm going to go a little bit more wholesome rather than body horror and like a different kind of body horror and dystopia and stuff. I'm going to recommend a show that's streaming on Disney Plus right now. It's called No Taste Like Home with Anthony Porowski, who's one of the Queer Eye for the Straight Guy guys. And basically, think of it like Who Do You Think You Are? In terms of the celebrities finding out about their past and being led by a celebrity host. But with food. So it's more about like using the culinary history and like family recipes and that sort of thing, and taking them back, literally sometimes taking them back to the country of their origin and like helping them explore and also find out about their family that way. So the first episode, for example, is Florence Pugh. So you go all across like the English countryside, and a lot of these celebrities don't actually know a lot about their history beyond their like maybe grandparents. So it is genuinely like, oh, you had this kind of family member, and like, this family recipe that you made came from this area. And they have like, yeah, Florence Pugh with England, Aquafina, which I will say, the Aquafina episode's particularly emotional because her mum died when she was 4, and she's half Chinese, half Korean, and she knows nothing about her Korean side. So it's like an entire episode where they go to South Korea and just like explore, and she meets family, and it's like, oh my God, you're just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And they're also eating some of the most delicious looking food you've ever seen. There's celebrities like even Issa Rae, they go to Senegal, Henry Golding, they go to Malaysia, James Marsden, who has like German background, and they talk about the connection between Texas and German. And I was so like, there's a bit where the family recipe is like chicken fried steak at the very beginning of the episode. And so I've now made chicken fried steak because I was like, that looks really good. I kind of want to do that. And yeah, and so it's like they're very emotional as well, and it's just a chance for, Anthony will kind of like take these different celebrities on these different across the world, like Italy and Germany and Korea and like Senegal, like these countries you wouldn't even think of, as well as just in general, going across like England and that sort of thing. And you're also exploring this absolutely delicious food from the people who make it, from the places they are. It's very wholesome. Each episode's like 45 to 50 minutes, and it's pretty much like you'll hit a cuisine you love. I think one of them is set in Italy, and it's with Justin, oh, what's his
Theroux?
name? The one, yes, Justin Theroux. Yeah.
Mm.
And it's really, and like as an Italian, I was like, oh my God, this is all the food from my childhood. So you'll definitely have that as well, no matter kind of where, because they've done really well in terms of like going across quite a few different countries and nationalities and food types. And so if you love food, and there'll probably be a celebrity that you really like the fact that they start off with Florence Pugh is quite strong, but then every single one of them's like one of them, oh, I like that kind of celebrity. And then exploring those areas and exploring the different parts of the culture. But please, for the love of God, make sure you've either just eaten or have a snack while you watch it, because it will make you so hungry. And I really, really hope they do a season 2, because it was just so relaxing.
I'm trying to
I'm
love food
definitely going to watch
less
that.
and lose
Yeah.
weight. So I don't know if this is going to
Yep.
be quite the one that I'll be checking out at
Yep.
the moment. But it sounds like a wonderful show, and you know, I like, I'm very much grew up in an Italian American
Yep.
household, and which is very different than, actually Italian. But it would be
Well, I
really
think
cool to like,
that's also part of it, because he's like, I'm American, and that's all. And so it's like, oh, but you have Italian. Let's go look at them and see where you're. And it's funny how people's like ideas of like, oh, well, this is my family recipe and it comes from blah. And then Anthony will be like, no, it doesn't. This region doesn't make that recipe. So they came from somewhere else. And so they have to go on this little like research trip, which is super fun.
well, my wife really dove into doing like going back into our family histories
Mm,
and stuff like that, and shattered a lot of preconceived notions of our background, especially because my brother did one of those DNA tests and found out that we're
yes.
actually Spanish.
Ooh.
Um,
Yep.
and then my wife found out that my family came from a region that was under siege of Spain in Italy, and I'm like, hmm.
That
And
tracks.
it's just like,
Bit of pillaging going on.
yeah.
Yep.
So like, am I actually ethnically Italian? And it's just like, well, I we made that choice and we ran with it.
Yeah.
We're South Philly and South Jersey Italian Americans, and nothing's gonna change that. Which also, the funny thing is, I'm much more Irish than I am
Yeah.
actually Italian. That's where my like height came from. It definitely didn't come from my Italian family members. But
This is true.
my mom also called me her Irish boy when I was growing up because I'm a very bland meat and potatoes kind of eater to begin with. I also hate
There you go.
tomatoes. Uh, so like, yep,
You're
fun
Italian
stuff.
Mhm.
noodle.
I would honestly kind of want to go through like the Irish end of things and
Well,
explore
that's what's
that.
interesting. Yeah, it's like they don't necessarily like, especially because Henry Golding, for example, is like half British, half Malaysian, but they don't
Yeah.
touch on the British at all. He's literally like, I know about that. I have no idea about
Mm.
my Malaysian side, and I in fact
Yes, take
ignored it
me to
growing up
Ireland.
because
I'll
yeah,
definitely go on the trip to Ireland.
exactly. But yeah, it like every single one is so unique in terms of the way that, and Anthony's a really good host. Like he just kind of like, he gets on with them well. I mean, it seems obviously it's all fake. It's, whatever, but like it seems like they get on really well. They have good conversation. He delivers the information in a really like respectful but really interesting manner. And you're just like, and I mean, it works for them because I'm like, oh, I feel so connected to these insane celebrities who have so much money. Like, look at them at their parents' home having their favorite meal. Like,
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'll go through my three usual recommendations
Mhm.
real quick. So I've had a couple of these in a row, so I'm running low on new movie recommendations to throw out there. But this is just like a casual one. I'm not saying this is a great movie, but it was a fun one. It's called Guns Up that came out on VOD this weekend as we're recording. This is from Edward Drake, who made the last 10 Bruce Willis movies. That he made. He was that guy that kept making him
Wow.
work throughout all of that, and there were just a bunch of straight to VOD action movies, but he found a new muse and his name is Kevin James. And Kevin James plays a the muscle
Oh,
for the
this is the one where
mob.
he's all tatted up and stuff.
Um, like he is definitely like a tough guy, works for
Yeah,
ex-cop, works
yeah.
for the mob. Christina Ricci's his wife. It has Melissa Leo in it, Luis Guzman, and
Wow.
it has like a really fun cast. It has
Really
some
does.
inspired filmmaking moments and some twists and turns. It's pretty standard, but it's a fun time for 90 minutes, so I'll throw that out there. Um, for off my watch list, and this is kind of a general recommendation. So I feel like there's a lot of things that people check out on Disney Plus, but I don't feel like they check this out on Disney Plus. I watched In Beaver Valley, which is one of those old like 30-minute Disney nature documentaries from like the 50s and 60s that they used to do, where they had like narrators narrating over the animals and doing their just little animal things. And they got some
Mm.
surprisingly great footage for like back then. Apparently there's a bunch of them on Disney Plus. So this was a fun time, honestly. And there's some like they had some really interesting footage of like crawfish um and
Mhm.
stuff like that, and them
Wow.
just like mudding it up, making their little tunnels and stuff, and then a raccoon being like not up in here trying to take down a crawfish and like feed its babies. It's that kind of thing, but like it's this old, like there's so many of them today and they look so bright
Mm.
and sheeny. What's interesting, like this is like old 50s like filmmaking footage and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And there's a bunch of them, so I'd peruse Disney Plus for some of those older nature documentaries. And lastly, one of my rewatches, I just did a bunch of them during a movie marathon yesterday, but I wanted to shout this out because I will be talking about this on the SiftPop Writers Room. I'll be doing that recording this week, and that's Brooklyn because I love this movie to pieces. This
Mm.
movie is
Mhm.
10 years old now. Um,
What?
yep,
No, it's not.
Really?
Nah,
it came out in
nah.
2015 because this was the same year that Mad
I'm
Max
so
Fury Road came
Yeah.
old.
out and The Revenant and Spotlight. And I will still sit here and say Fury Road should have won Best Picture. I would have even taken Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn to pieces. This movie is so
I
Yeah,
good
it's
love
though.
great.
Spotlight. Okay, it's a good movie.
Well, this is my show, and I will continue to say that Spotlight should never have won Best Picture, and Mad Max Fury Road will live on for forever. But this movie is beautiful. Saoirse Ronan is incredible, and
Hmm.
this whole cast is great. The production design, this is a beautiful film. The music is so tender and moving. This hits me very particularly because it reminds me of like my grandparents are an Italian American
Oh
and an Irish
yeah.
American. And like there's just something special about Ailish and Tony to me. And it's more than just like your standard romance, and there's a lot of things about immigrant story in this, and the
Mm.
challenges of like being drawn to home and what's your new home and stuff like that, and some really catty small town Irish culture that I feel like is really reinforced in the Banshees of Inisherin. um Small town people all around are catty and need to mind their own damn business.
Hmm.
Just throwing that out there. But Brooklyn's a wonderful film, and I look forward to talking about it on the SiftPop Writers Room, and hopefully people go check this out for its 10-year anniversary. And hopefully one day, Saoirse Ronan gets some more attention. Because like she had a streak there where she was like with this and Lady Bird and stuff like that. I feel
Mm.
like things have like cooled off for her career a bit recently in terms of some of the stuff that she's been doing, despite the fact that like the films aren't great. She's still great, and she's always great. She's wonderful, and I love her.
Mm. Well,
But
she's about
anyway,
to be in the adaptation of Narnia, so
Mm.
she'll go big soon. I don't actually know what as, because I was convinced she was going to be the White Witch, but then they cast who'd they cast as someone else as the White Witch. So we'll see.
we will find out, and hopefully in a
Yep.
theater and not on
Yep.
Netflix. Just throwing that out there. As a side note, but that is our discussion on Howl's Moving Castle, and that is a wrap here on another episode of Welcome to the Wasteland. But Adam, Mike, and Alice, thank you all so much for coming on and talking movies with me.
Thank you,
Thanks
kind
for
Oh,
having
sir.
us on.
great being here anytime.
Yeah, and check out SiftPop and the SPDM Crew. We all do a lot between all of us in all these different places. So wonderful places for movies and television and such. But thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.